The acrid smell of burnt metal filled the cramped medical station orbiting between two worlds. Angel Rodriguez wiped the sweat from his brow as he rushed between beds in the makeshift emergency ward. The temporary peacekeeping facility had been hastily assembled following the recent conflict between humans and Valdari, and now housed medical personnel from both species working side by side despite lingering tensions. Angel's sun-darkened skin bore numerous scars, badges of honor from his many voluntary blood donations throughout his career as a combat medic. His current shift in the crowded treatment tent had already stretched to 14 hours, but the steady stream of wounded showed no signs of abating. "We've got another critical coming in," Dr. Martinez called out, her voice barely audible over the cacophony of medical monitors and the distinctive wailing cries of injured Valdari. Two assistants rushed past carrying a small form on a stretcher. Angel's heart sank when he realized it was a child, a young Valdari girl, no more than 8 years old. Her pale blue-green skin had taken on an ashen gray tone, and her golden eyes flickered open briefly before closing again in pain. "What happened?" Angel asked, falling into step beside Dr. Martinez. "Explosion in the civilian quarter," Martinez replied grimly. "Shrapnel wound to the abdomen. She's lost a lot of blood. Her name is Kira." They wheeled her into the critical care pod, where the monitoring equipment immediately began to shriek warning tones. Angel's trained eyes took in the situation at a glance: the gaping abdominal wound, the plummeting blood pressure, the labored breathing. "We need blood, now," Martinez ordered, her fingers moving with practiced precision as she tried to stabilize the child. "We don't have compatible Valdari blood on station," one of the assistants reported, panic edging into his voice. "The supply ship isn't due for another 36 hours. Angel felt the familiar weight of decision pressing down on him. All his medical training told him human and Valdari blood were incompatible. Their physiologies too different, their biochemistries alien to each other. Yet the child before him was fading fast, each shallow breath possibly her last. "I'm O-negative," Angel said suddenly. "Universal donor for humans." Martinez looked up sharply. "That's against every xenobiological protocol. We have no data on cross-species transfusion compatibility." "She'll die before that supply ship arrives," Angel insisted, already rolling up his sleeve. "My blood has saved dozens of lives." "What's one more species?" Martinez hesitated for only a second before nodding. "Prepare for direct transfusion. If there's an adverse reaction, we'll terminate immediately." The medical staff exchanged worried glances as Angel positioned himself beside the dying child and extended his arm. The needle slid into his vein, and soon his dark red blood was flowing through the tube toward the small Valdari body. Vitals dropping further, an assistant called out, "We're losing her!" Angel watched, heart pounding, as his blood entered Kira's circulatory system. For a terrifying moment, nothing happened. Then, something impossible occurred, where his blood made contact with her wound. A strange luminescence began to glow. The edges of the injury started to knit together, far faster than any natural healing process. The ashen color of her skin gradually transformed to a vibrant jade green. The monitoring equipment, which had been shrieking warnings, began to register stabilizing vital signs. "What in God's name?" Martinez whispered, eyes wide with disbelief. Before anyone could respond, the treatment tent's entrance flap was thrust aside. A tall, regal Valdari female entered, her golden eyes rimmed with red. Clearly, she had been weeping. The intricate silver markings on her jade skin identified her as nobility among her kind. "My daughter," she demanded, voice cracking with emotion. "Where is my daughter?" When her gaze fell upon the scene, Angel connected by a tube to the now stabilizing child, her expression transformed from anguish to shock, then to something Angel couldn't interpret. "You," she said, staring directly at Angel. "You gave your blood to save her." Angel nodded, still too focused on the miracle unfolding before him to appreciate the gravity of what had just occurred. "You've given her life," the Valdari woman stated, her voice dropping to a reverent whisper. "By the ancient edict, her life is now bound to yours." She drew herself up to her full height, towering over even the tallest human in the room. "I am Linessa, matriarch of House Vath, and according to our most sacred laws, you now owe our bloodline continuation. You must mate with me to produce offspring." The room fell silent, broken only by the steady beep of Kira's now stabilized heart monitor. Angel stared at her, certain he had misunderstood. What? "You will breed with me," Linessa repeated firmly. "It is our way." Hours later, Angel sat in a small conference room aboard the station, his head spinning with the implications of what had happened. Dr. Martinez had protested vehemently, but Linessa had insisted on a private discussion with Angel, away from the prying eyes and ears of the medical staff. "You can't seriously expect me to agree to this," Angel said, staring across the table at the imposing Valdari matriarch. "On Earth, we have rights over our own bodies." Linessa's golden eyes regarded him with an intensity that made him uncomfortable. "On Valdari Prime, the giving of blood to save a noble life creates a bond that cannot be broken. You have infused my daughter with your essence. Our laws are clear. You must now contribute to the continuation of our bloodline." "With all due respect, I'm not bound by Valdari laws," Angel countered. "I'm a human medical officer under Earth jurisdiction." "This station exists in shared space," Linessa replied smoothly. "And the peace treaty between our peoples explicitly states that cultural customs must be respected when no direct harm comes to either party." She leaned forward. "Do you know why I insist on this? Beyond mere tradition?" Angel remained silent, waiting. "The Valdari birth rate has been declining for 3 centuries, she said, her voice softening slightly. "House Vath, once the most prolific and powerful of the noble lines, has produced only 1 child in the last generation, my daughter Kira. At our current rate of decline, we face extinction within 200 years. Angel felt a pang of empathy despite himself. "I'm sorry to hear that, but—" "Whatever is in your blood," Linessa interrupted. "It healed my daughter when our best medicines could not. It restored her when she was beyond saving." She fixed him with a penetrating stare. "Can you imagine what the offspring of our union might mean for my people?" Angel ran a hand through his dark hair, struggling with the weight of the situation. "How would this even work? What exactly are you asking of me?" "A commitment of 6 to 8 months during the proximal phase," Linessa explained. "We would perform the bonding rituals according to Valdari custom. In exchange, you would be granted the position of cultural and medical liaison between our peoples, a position of honor that many would covet." "And if I refuse?" Something dangerous flickered in Linessa's eyes. "Then, I would be forced to petition both governments for resolution under the peace treaty. Such a case would likely set back our fragile relations considerably." "Is that what you want, Angel Rodriguez?" The way she pronounced his name sent an unexpected shiver down his spine. "I need time to think about this," he said finally. "Of course," Linessa agreed, rising gracefully to her feet. "But not too much time. The first bonding ritual must take place within the lunar cycle for optimal results." She moved toward the door, then paused. "You saved my daughter without hesitation, without even knowing if your blood would kill or cure her. That kind of selflessness is rare among any species. It would be an honor to continue my line with someone possessing such qualities." With that, she was gone, leaving Angel alone with his thoughts and an impossible decision. Days passed, during which Angel found himself increasingly drawn into Linessa's orbit. They shared meals in the station's mess hall, discussing the future of Valdari human relations. They visited Kira together, watching her remarkable recovery with shared amazement. The young girl had taken an immediate liking to Angel, often reaching for his hand when he entered her recovery room. Dr. Martinez pulled Angel aside after one such visit. "I've analyzed her blood work," she whispered urgently. "Whatever happened when your blood entered her system? It's unprecedented. Her cellular regeneration rate is off the charts. The Valdari doctors are calling it a miracle." "Have you reported this to Earth Command?" Angel asked. Martinez nodded grimly. "They want a full report and are considering recalling you for extensive testing. And if I agreed to Linessa's proposal instead?" Martinez studied him for a long moment. "You're actually considering it, aren't you?" Angel sighed. "I don't know. There's something compelling about her, and the idea that I could help prevent an entire species from dying out." He trailed off, then added more softly. "Plus, there's Kira. I feel responsible for her now. Somehow." "Just be careful," Martinez warned. "We're in uncharted territory here, medically, diplomatically, and personally." That evening, Angel made his decision. He sent a message to Linessa's quarters, agreeing to an initial bonding ritual, with the stipulation that he could withdraw at any point if he felt uncomfortable. Her response came swiftly. "The first bonding occurs tonight. Come to my quarters at the turning of the third watch." When Angel arrived at Linessa's doorway, he found it adorned with intricate silver patterns that hadn't been there before. The door slid open at his approach, revealing a chamber transformed. Bioluminescent panels cast a soft, blue-green glow across the walls. A holographic projection of what must be Valdari Prime dominated one wall, a world of amber sunlight and crimson forests. Linessa emerged from an adjoining room, wearing ceremonial robes that accentuated her regal bearing. Silver markings adorned her exposed skin in patterns more elaborate than Angel had seen before. "You came," she said simply. "I did," Angel replied, trying to keep his voice steady despite his racing heart. "The first bonding is primarily physical," she explained, gesturing for him to sit on a cushioned platform in the center of the room. "But among my people, physical union often awakens deeper connections. Are you prepared for this possibility?" Angel nodded, though in truth, he had no idea what to expect. What followed was unlike anything Angel had experienced before. Their bodies joined in a dance both alien and familiar, strange, yet instinctively understood. But as their physical connection deepened, something unexpected happened. Angel began to sense Linessa's emotions, catching glimpses of her memories like reflections in water. He saw Kira as an infant, felt Linessa's fierce love for her daughter, experienced her anguish at the thought of their bloodline ending. When they finally separated, both gasping for breath, Linessa stared at him with wide, shocked eyes. "You felt it too," she whispered, not a question but a statement. "I saw things. Your memories. I think—" Linessa reached out to touch his face with trembling fingers. "This is rare, even among Valdari. A psychic bond upon first bonding. It has not happened in generations." Before Angel could respond, a strange sensation rippled through him. Not from Linessa this time, but from elsewhere on the station. "What was that?" he asked, sitting up sharply. Linessa's expression was one of wonder and alarm. "The awakening," she breathed. "It's happening throughout the station. Others with latent abilities are sensing the bond we've formed." She grasped his hand tightly. "You don't understand what you've done, Angel Rodriguez. You may have just changed the course of Valdari evolution." In the days that followed, reports emerged of strange phenomena throughout the station. Valdari, who had never shown psychic sensitivity, began experiencing heightened awareness. Even more remarkably, a few humans stationed in close proximity to Valdari reported unusual dreams and flashes of insight. Dr. Vex, the senior Valdari physician, conducted extensive tests on both Angel and Linessa. "The human blood has catalyzed something in our biochemistry," he reported during a private briefing. "It's as though a dormant genetic potential has been activated, If this pattern holds true on Valdari Prime, my people might have a future after all, Lanessa finished, her voice filled with hope. Not everyone welcomed these developments. However, a conservative faction among the Valdari viewed the awakening as contamination of their pure bloodline. Rumors spread that Margoth, a prominent elder from a rival house, was gathering supporters to cleanse the station of human influence. Meanwhile, Earth Command grew increasingly concerned about the reports they were receiving. The potential for a psychically enhanced alien race was viewed as a security threat by certain military factions. Colonel Hayes, the station's human commander, received orders to separate Angel from Lanessa and return him to Earth for debriefing and study. Angel found himself caught between worlds, literally and figuratively. His connection with Lanessa had deepened with each passing day. Through their bond, he experienced her world through her memories, the towering crystalline spires of Valdari cities, the sacred groves where ancient rituals were performed, the weight of responsibility she carried as the matriarch of a dying house. In turn, she glimpsed Earth through his eyes, the endless blue of the Pacific Ocean where he had grown up, the bustling streets of Mexico City where he had trained as a medic, the simple joy of rain falling on parched earth after a drought. "They're going to try to separate us," Angel told Lanessa as they lay entwined in her quarters. "Hayes received orders today. I'm to be recalled to Earth." Lanessa's golden eyes darkened with determination. "And Margoth's followers grow bolder. I've received threats against both of us." She placed a hand protectively over her abdomen, though it was too early to know if their bonding had borne fruit. "We cannot let them succeed." "What can we do?" Angel asked. "We're just two people against powerful institutions." Lanessa sat up, her expression fierce. "We are not just two people. We are the first of a new way, a bridge between our kinds, and we are not alone." She was right. Throughout the station, others had begun to take sides. Many of the medical staff, including Dr. Martinez, supported Angel and Lanessa, having witnessed firsthand the miracle of Kira's healing. A growing number of Valdari embraced the possibility of the awakening, seeing it as salvation rather than contamination. Even some humans had begun to wonder if the psychic link might benefit both species. But the opposition was equally determined. Colonel Hayes had stationed guards outside the medical facility, waiting for an opportunity to extract Angel. Margoth's followers, easily identified by their traditional scarlet armbands, watched the couple's movements with undisguised hostility. The breaking point came without warning. Angel was checking on Kira, who had made a full recovery and was scheduled to return to Valdari Prime within days, when alarms blared throughout the station. "Security breach in Medical Section 3, an automated voice announced. "All personnel initiate lockdown procedures." Angel's blood ran cold. Section 3 was where Lanessa was undergoing her daily examination with Dr. Vex. Through their bond, he felt a spike of fear that was not his own. He sprinted down the corridor, barely registering the chaos erupting around him. As he rounded the corner, he saw armed Valdari in scarlet bands storming the examination room, simultaneously from the opposite direction. Earth security forces led by Colonel Hayes burst through another entrance. "Secure the human!" Hayes shouted. "Take the defiler!" cried Margoth, directing his followers toward Lanessa. Angel reacted on instinct. He felt Lanessa's consciousness brush against his own, and suddenly they were moving in perfect synchronization. He ducked under a guard's arm as Lanessa swept the legs from beneath an attacker. Back to back, they faced their opponents from two worlds. "Stand down!" Angel shouted to the human forces. "This isn't what you think!" "The awakening cannot be stopped," Lanessa declared to her fellow Valdari. "Would you condemn our people to extinction out of fear?" "You're coming with us, Rodriguez," Hayes barked, raising his weapon. "That's an order." "She has bewitched him," Margoth hissed to his followers. "We must purify the bloodline before it's too late." What happened next would later be described by witnesses as both terrifying and beautiful. As both groups closed in, Angel and Lanessa reached for each other's hands. A surge of energy passed between them, visible as a ripple of silver-blue light that expanded outward in a concussive wave. Every person in the room, human and Valdari alike, staggered backward as if struck. In the sudden silence, Angel and Lanessa stood untouched, a faint aura of energy still shimmering around them. "We will not be separated," Angel stated firmly. "We stand together, or we fall together," Lanessa added, her voice ringing with authority. "Make your choice." Colonel Hayes recovered first, straightening his uniform with military precision. "This is a violation of direct orders. Rodriguez." "With all due respect, sir," Angel replied, "I'm acting as a medical liaison between our species. That role supersedes standard military hierarchy in first contact situations." Margoth stepped forward, his face contorted with rage. "You disgrace our ancestors. Matriarch of Vuth. The bloodline must remain pure." "Our ancestors sought survival above all," Lanessa countered. "What you witnessed was the awakening of abilities dormant in our people for generations. Would you deny our salvation because it comes from an unexpected source?" A tense standoff ensued, broken only when the station's communication system crackled to life. "Attention all personnel," announced the voice of Elder Thne, head of the Valdari Council. "An emergency session has been called to address the situation aboard the orbital station. Matriarch Lanessa and the human medic Angel Rodriguez are ordered to appear before the Council immediately. All hostile actions against them will be considered an act of war." Hayes and Margoth exchanged glances, their temporary alliance of convenience dissolving as quickly as it had formed. "This isn't over," Hayes muttered to Angel as he ordered his men to stand down. "The Council will see reason," Margoth declared, though the uncertainty in his voice betrayed his doubt. As the armed forces retreated, Angel turned to Lanessa, brushing a strand of silver-streaked hair from her face. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head, then placed his hand over her abdomen. Through their bond, he felt it, a tiny flicker of consciousness, distinct from either of them. His eyes widened in wonder. "Yes," Lanessa confirmed, her voice filled with emotion. "Our child grows within me. We go before the Council, not just as ourselves, but as the beginning of something new." The Council chamber on Valdari Prime was a vast amphitheater carved from living crystal, its faceted walls refracting the amber light of the planet's sun into countless golden shards. Angel stood beside Lanessa at the center of the chamber, aware of hundreds of eyes, both Valdari and human, watching from the ascending tiers. Elder Thun, his jade skin faded to pale mint with age, addressed them from the highest tier. "Never in our recorded history has such a union been witnessed," he stated, his voice amplified by the chamber's perfect acoustics. "The human gives blood to save a Valdari child. The ancient edict is invoked. A bonding occurs, and with it, the awakening spreads." Murmurs rippled through the assembly. "We have reviewed the medical data," Elder Thien continued. "The phenomenon is real. Psychic abilities long dormant in our people have begun to manifest wherever this human's blood has influence." Margoth stepped forward from his position among the council members. "And what of purity? What of tradition? Would we dilute our sacred bloodlines for this temporary advantage?" "Temporary." A new voice entered the discussion, Ambassador Cole, the highest-ranking human representative present. "The preliminary studies suggest these changes are permanent and heritable. The children of those affected will carry these traits forward." "And therein lies the concern of Earth Command," Cole added, turning to Angel. "An entire species suddenly developing advanced psychic abilities represents a significant shift in the balance of power." Angel felt Lanessa's hand tighten around his. Through their bond, He sensed her determination. "May I speak?" Angel asked, his voice steady despite the enormity of the moment. Elder Then nodded his permission. "I came to this station as a medic, sworn to preserve life," Angel began. "When I gave my blood to save Kira, I did so without expectation of reward or consequence. What has happened since, the bonding, the awakening, was not planned. But perhaps it was necessary." He looked around the chamber, meeting the golden eyes of the Valdari Council members, one by one. "Your people face extinction through declining birth rates. My people fear what they don't understand. But together, we've discovered something remarkable, not just the revival of dormant abilities, but a bridge between our minds and hearts. I can feel what Lanessa feels. I can see through her memories, and she through mine." Angel placed his hand over Lanessa's abdomen. "The child we've created carries both our heritages. It represents not the dilution of either, but the strengthening of both. This is evolution, not the slow crawl of natural selection, but the leap of conscious choice." A hush fell over the assembly as his words resonated through the crystal chamber. Elder Thien leaned forward, his ancient eyes sharp with interest. "And what would you propose, human?" "Accept the awakening," Angel replied simply. "Study it, nurture it, guide it, but don't fear it. Let those Valdari who wish to bond with compatible humans do so. Let the children of such unions forge a new path between our worlds." Lanessa stepped forward, her regal bearing commanding attention. "For 3 centuries, we have watched our numbers dwindle, clinging to traditions that once served us, but now chain us to a dying past. I stand before you not just as matriarch of Housefeth, but as a mother who has seen her child brought back from death's threshold by this man's blood. I have felt his mind touch mine in ways our oldest texts only hint at. This is our salvation, if we have the courage to embrace it." The debate raged for hours, with voices raised in support and opposition. But as the amber sun began to set, casting long shadows across the crystal chamber, Elder Thne raised his hand for silence. "The council has deliberated," he announced. "By majority decision, we recognize the awakening as a legitimate, evolutionary path for our people. Those who wish to follow traditional ways may continue to do so. Those who seek bonding with compatible humans will be permitted, with appropriate oversight." He turned to Ambassador Cole. "What says Earth in this matter?" Cole straightened, his diplomatic training evident in his measured response. "Earth Command recognizes the potential benefits of this development for both our species. We withdraw our objection to the bonding of Angel Rodriguez and Matriarch Lanessa. Furthermore, we propose establishing a joint research initiative to study and nurture the awakening in a controlled, ethical manner." Colonel Hayes, standing at attention behind the ambassador, looked as though he had swallowed something bitter, but he offered no protest. "Then it is settled," Elder Thene declared. "The bonding ritual will proceed to its completion. The child of this union will be recognized as legitimate heir to House Vythe and as a citizen of Earth by birthright." As the assembly dispersed, Angel and Lanessa stood together at the center of the crystal chamber, their minds intertwined through their strengthening bond. "We did it," Angel whispered, hardly believing the outcome. "We have only begun," Lanessa replied, her thoughts flowing into his. "The completion ritual awaits." In the private sanctuary of Lanessa's ancestral chambers, on Valdari Prime, the final bonding ritual took place beneath the light of twin moons. Bioluminescent panels bathed the room in soft, aquamarine light. Ancient chants in the Valdari tongue spoke of blood that binds, and minds that meet across the void. As they joined physically, for what the ritual decreed would be the true conception, Angel felt their consciousnesses merge completely for the first time. No longer just glimpses of memory or flashes of emotion, but a total union of mind and spirit. In that transcendent moment, Valdari blood and human blood flowed as one, sealing their bond beyond any possibility of separation. The months that followed were a time of adjustment and anticipation. Angel divided his time between medical duties on the station and preparations for fatherhood on Valdari Prime. Lanessa's pregnancy progressed smoothly, the unique, hybrid nature of their child developing, according to a pattern that fascinated both human and Valdari medical experts. Kira, fully recovered and thriving, appointed herself Angel's cultural tutor, teaching him Valdari customs and language with a child's exuberant enthusiasm. Through her, he glimpsed the future their child might have, a bridge between worlds, comfortable in both, limited by neither. 6 months after the council's historic decision, in a birthing chamber, filled with a soft glow of bioluminescent panels, Lanessa brought their daughter into the world. They named her Arya, a name with roots in both Earth and Valdari traditions. Her skin bore the bronze tone of Angel's heritage, overlaid with subtle jade patterns, reminiscent of her mother's markings. Her eyes shifted between golden and deep brown depending on the light. When she grasped Angel's finger in her tiny hand, a wave of consciousness radiated outward, touching every mind in the vicinity. Humans and Valdari alike paused in their duties, momentarily connected through the infant's instinctive psychic reach. 2 years later, on the anniversary of Arya's birth, Elder Thane and Ambassador Cole stood together on the newly constructed Plaza of Unity. Between them, toddling on uncertain legs, Arya reached out to touch the ceremonial stone that would commemorate the awakening. "We recognize this child as the first bridge," Elder Thing proclaimed, his voice carrying across the assembled crowd. "In her, we see our future, not as separate species, but as kindred souls sharing the stars." Ambassador Cole nodded in agreement. "The research initiative has confirmed what Angel and Lanessa discovered through love. Our peoples are compatible at levels we never imagined. The awakening continues to spread, bringing with it new understanding and abilities that benefit both worlds." From their position of honor, Angel and Lanessa watched their daughter with pride. Through their bond, they shared thoughts too profound for words. The journey from that desperate moment in a makeshift medical tent to this new era of cooperation and hope. "She's beautiful," Angel whispered, squeezing Lanessa's hand. "She is the future," Lanessa replied, her golden eyes shining with emotion. "And we have given her a universe without boundaries." As Arya's laughter rang out across the plaza, a subtle ripple of psychic energy washed over the gathering, connecting them all in a moment of shared joy, the first notes of a cosmic symphony that would redefine what it meant to be human, what it meant to be Valdari, and what it meant to be alive in a universe of infinite possibility. In the years that followed, the hybrid civilization flourished. What had begun with a medic's desperate gamble to save a dying child had evolved into a renaissance of both species. The Valdari birth rate stabilized and then increased, while humans who bonded with Valdari partners developed latent abilities they had never known existed within their genetic code. Arya grew into a powerful symbol of unity, her dual heritage evident in everything from her appearance to her remarkable psychic gifts. Under the guidance of both Angel and Lanessa, she learned to navigate the complex diplomatic waters between the two worlds, eventually taking her place as a leader in her own right. And on quiet evenings, when the duties of the day were done, Angel would sometimes look up at the stars, visible from their home on Valdari Prime, and marvel at the journey that had brought him here, from combat medic to father of a new age. All because he had chosen compassion over protocol, life over rules, and love over fear. "Any regrets?" Lanessa would ask through their bond, sensing the direction of his thoughts. And always, his answer was the same, only that we can't live long enough to see all that she'll accomplish. But in a way, they would. For the bond they had forged, between themselves, between their peoples, and between the stars, would endure long after they were gone. A legacy written not just in blood, but in the very fabric of two civilizations reborn as one.